going.
Whatever. Someone will make an announcement. I think the Meeseeks does it anyways for us.
Nice.
All right. I guess I'll fucking whatever. Someone will make an announcement. I think the Meeseeks does it anyways for us. Oh.
Nice.
Stream is
Casual
auto
beat.
playing for me. Whatever. Someone make. Oh god, I can't pause it and it's playing through the speaker. I don't like hearing myself. Oh.
Nice.
Stream is auto. There we go. Holy shit. Okay.
Nice.
Going well. Okay, Twitch TV/Prophecy Cup. Everyone, we are live with week 2's review show right now. Okay. Well, I don't know what to call it because it's like kind of awkward actually, I think, because it's like week 2 hasn't happened, but like it's the show about week 2, but calling it the week 2 review show since like we're reviewing week 2. But
Shouldn't it be week 1 in review?
I guess.
Week 1 in review, perhaps.
In review show, whatever. It's the one at the start of week 2, at the end of week 1. People will figure it out. Anyways, going through what happened last week. So last week, Astrus is sick, but he came in afterwards and added in his rankings. So if you're wondering why you didn't see them on the show last time, it's because they weren't there, and we added them in afterwards. But he didn't cheat. These were all done before the actual games happened. Which
literally
you can tell because he actually did the worst. If you look at the points, the guests actually both got 100 on actually guessing all of the scores. So that makes pretty easy going through.
I would have got 100%. I just believed in some teams a little bit more and gave them at least one win.
This one, I know Mango was trolling when he put 0-2 just because Spell It Chat's his own team. If people don't know, so anyways, going through the games quickly. Basically, every series was a 2-0. Most of them were pretty stompy. I think the closest series was probably Hash versus Pornhub, I think. The other ones weren't really that
Everything
close
else is super...
Well,
IRL was a little bit close. There was little shaky moments, but other than that, it was basically a stomp.
Okay.
Rabbit showed life. I feel like they just misplayed the early really bad, especially bot side.
Yeah, that's the one I have the least familiarity with for watching, just because there was the 2 streams going on, so I only really know from what I saw from the end of game screenshots and stuff for that series. So it looked like a pretty big stomp for IRL, but
I watched that one because
teams, Rabbit's laning's kind of weak as they are really underpointed. Like if I pop over to the rosters real quick and we go to Rabbit, like it says I forgot that I don't have the points loaded.
Wait, your stream died?
Stream died? I don't think so. It says I'm still streaming. No.
I'm trolling. Never mind. I'm trying.
Yeah, it's still live for me.
Okay. Anyways, they only have one D5 player, and all the rest of the players are plat with 1 gold. They're not using flyers. I heard Long's been playing all their games.
Yeah.
So they're like pretty low as far as points go, but their macro's pretty solid to compensate. So it's just really. I think
it's actually
the matchups they're going to look at, I think they can steal off a lot of the teams that kind of are known for having really weaker macro play, or even just teams that aren't going to like close out early game against them. Like Desolate isn't necessarily that dominant. Vortex isn't really dominant in lane. Hash isn't really dominant in lane. So I think these kind of teams I could see Rabbit pulling games off later. But IRL's a pretty unlucky matchup week 1.
I put Rabbit Raccoons in the top half. I think it's top half 5.
Yeah, you had them here. You had them rated the highest.
Believe that out of the bottom 5, Pornhub probably being the only one that actually exclude. Like not looking at it at least from after seeing week 1, I think Rabbit Raccoons can beat literally all the ones in the bottom half. The hardest one they beat with Pornhub. Like they have great. Let me first say, from what we've seen and what I've known from before, they've had pretty good macro later on. Like we said, the lanes are weak, but I still think they can like take games later on.
Yeah, and it seems like they have some decent like cheese picks too, especially in their top laner. They didn't bring out the Tom or the Ashe, which I felt really solidified them game 1 against us, square 1 in the tiebreaker. They had just really good play around the Tom and the Ashe, which they didn't pull out at all. So that was surprising.
Another series I was really hyped for going into the week was Pornhub versus Hash, just because like I rated them, maybe hype's the wrong word, but I rated them 2 like the lower teams in my thing. I think most people had Hash as like second worst or worst team, right? And I actually didn't sort this a second.
I can go actually. Keep going for you. So Hash in my opinion is like a bottom like the bottom 5 team, to be honest with you. Pornhub being the same way. Pornhub being definitely centered off their mid and jungle, and Hash just kind of being spread out with their skill level. When they were going into this specific series last week, or well, week 1, I guess you'd say, Hash played the early game pretty well. I mean, they shut down Overrate. Overrate was ahead in levels compared to the enemy jungler, but Overrate was like, I think,
he died in
4
a
at some
lot
of
of
the
invades,
points.
especially the second game. Like, he ended up getting kills both games and looking strong, but his early game, he got caught a lot. I felt like maybe he's just not used to playing with like low pressure lanes and like top and bot, so he like normally feels safe to just like run in and do whatever, right? Like that was kind of his style last season, was just running into the jungle. But I think Hash did a pretty good job of punishing him when he ran in early game. Just yeah, he just got some mechanical outplays mid game and then just got stupid fed both games.
Yeah, and later on it was just Hamlet and Ray running through. Their AD carry, I believe his name is Vincent, played really well too. He played MF both games, which is kind of a toss-up. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen with that, but he played pretty well for the whole series.
Yeah,
they just kind of just went through late game with macro.
They were pretty much what you'd want from gold players, right? Like, their bot lane got down in pressure. They were down in CS, I think, both games. But they actually like didn't die that much. Like, I think they had a few deaths the first game. The second game was better, as I recall, but his team fighting was like actually really solid, and he kept up an XP. Like, for a gold bot lane, like that's pretty much what you'd want, right? I feel like, at least for Ornhub. And their top laner was fine as well.
Yeah.
Like, even the game where Freshburger pulled up to Camille and got like 11 kills, their top laner was like 0-1-1 even CS coming out of lane, right? Like, his one death was to getting like 3-man dove by Lissandra. So I think like their top laner also played safe pretty well, just like kept up CS, didn't die at all. And I think like their team's like decently solid in that respect. To be honest, the people with the shakiest early game to me actually was by far their jungler. Overrate had the shakiest early game. And then secondly, I'd put their Hamlet was down in CS a couple of the games as well early.
Yeah. I feel like game 2, Overrate did a lot of work on Kane. And then he kind of like towards the mid-late game started to troll, kind of. It seemed like he just died a lot of random ways. But before that, yeah, a lot of improvement from game 1 where he was getting punished early.
Yeah, I think he tilted himself super hard off getting the wrong runes, as people have been putting the memes out. He just kept like spamming in Twitch chat wrong runes, but
for game 2 or game 1?
Game 1, he took the PTA on Graves,
PTA.
Ooh.
which isn't optimal, but I don't think should affect your clear that
I mean,
much.
to be honest, with Fleet nerf, it's actually not like the worst now. If you would have taken that on the Fleet patch,
I didn't think it was that bad, but
yeah. I mean, I've even seen some go
I think
electrocute.
it just was mentally bad for him because he just tilted and did some stupid shit early game night. But yeah. I think
game 2 I thought was
just
really good.
off what I saw, I think could actually be like, by stronger laning teams than Hash, I think could be really exploited early game. Because I don't think Hash really did anything early. Like, even again, like the game where like Trashburger got a bunch of kills, they were all off mid-game skirmishes and him just catching like the Kane looking for assassinations and stuff in the jungle, right? Like, pretty much all his kills are just sitting in the jungle and someone face checked him, right? Like, he wasn't shitting on lane. Adam was kind of getting shit on in lane. Like, all these, their bot lane was like kind of ahead in CS, but like, again, not dumpstering Ornhub. So I feel like teams in the upper end that have actually like stronger laners, like IRL Sluts, Spell It Chat, our team, Gothboy Click, and Jabezus on a lesser extent, I think could like really punish Ornhub, in my opinion.
I think if you're looking at least my ratings from the week 1, like Rabid Raccoons and Everywhere Down is kind of a toss-up. I think those top 4 teams easily beat everyone else. Like, everyone else is really exploitable in the bottom 6, I'd say. And despite their playstyles in general, I mean, like, just going up, Hash is kind of just shaky all around. Desolate, same thing, shaky all around. Vortex, shaky all around. Ornhub, like, it's based off of 2 players, and they didn't play well the first week. tay-k, I didn't watch that series, to be straight forward with you. I didn't watch the GBC versus tay-k one, but from what I heard, is just them kind of getting rolled over. They just rolled over and died.
Yeah, DTS had a lot of pressure mid. Top had a lot of pressure as well.
Yeah, they just didn't really. I think tay-k's main problem is they, at least from us playing against them, maybe we were a good match for them, but they had no like standout player that was like win condition for them, right? I think that's another big problem I'd say for Hash as well. Like Hash's team as a whole didn't like just collapse early game, right? But like they don't really have anyone on the map like and winning them the game. You know what I mean? Like they don't play around Trashburger. Like they put him on Camille, but they had no pressure for him to split push. He just held TP and group the entire game because he. Like, I asked him about it later, and he just said he didn't have any faith that his team wouldn't get caught if he left, right? And they had, like, Ezreal, Janna, Oriana, and, like, if your team doesn't have faith that, like, someone's not gonna fuck up, like, I don't know, it just seems like there's not, like, that much carry potential.
It really it limits your possibilities, too.
And I think Free TK's roster is a little stronger than Hash, but I think they have the same kind of problem where they don't really have many players to play through, right? I think the big one in play-ins people looked for was I'm better on top, right? He was rated #1 top laner by I think most people coming in, but he just played tanks both games against me and then got down in CS, and then that was basically it, right? Like he wasn't getting solo killed really. Like he died once to me when I got Renekton into Ornn, but outside of that, like I just was confused by their draft, to be honest.
I don't know. From what I'm seeing from top lane is like nothing special, to be honest with you. Like I think. Just from looking at top laners, Fug is good. You're good. Who else?
Mango.
Everyone else is kind of Mango is good too. Everyone else is kind of Josidon's also a good player, but the rest of the players are kind of roll over and just sit there and farm. And you see, like, especially like we're gonna pick on Hash, unfortunately, pick on Freshburger, but like it's the same playstyle from what I see from most of the top laners that they just don't do anything. They sit there and farm, and they're not given a chance to do anything from their team. Like a lot of the teams are just kind of ignoring their top laners, especially with the bottom 6 that I talked about earlier. They just will leave their top laner to just not do anything, not be able to do anything, and that kind of hurts them later on. Especially with, like I said, Hashling is one of them you gotta pick on the most. But
yeah, me personally, I actually thought the weakest team from last week was Desolate, just from the fact that like. They didn't seem to understand how to make a team, and it's like you're not going to understand how to execute a win condition if you don't know how to make a team first, and that's a really big problem.
That was the team that played Ornn mid, right?
Huge draft issues. Yeah, it was the team that played Ornn mid. They had like
carry
tops in a lot of their games.
It's just they had a really good frontline game 1. They had a good frontline game 1, but they picked a Jhin ADC. And then game 2, they had no frontline with a Kog'Maw and 2 an AP mid and AP top, where the enemy team had like 3 tanks who could just go adaptive helm and the game's done.
Exactly.
It was just like, it's so bad.
Also, at least one thing I noticed is their top laner's build seemed really weird to me. Like, as you said, they're playing against like triple frontline, and he's playing Vlad, and they have another AP mid laner. And I think his only pen item was boots at the end of the game.
Yeah, that's
he
all
didn't have Void Staff. He didn't go for Morello. He didn't like build anything. He didn't build Leandri's to like help shred. He just went Zanya's I think second item against like an Ornn or something. So it's just like it seemed really weird to me. Like maybe he wasn't even like comfortable on Vlad, but he just wanted to pull it out because he's trying to chat it out. You know what I mean? Like.
Right.
I think a lot of teams are just trying to pull out picks because they think it would be cool, like they want cheese at the Ornn mid and stuff, but they're especially just like they're not thinking about why they want to play any of these things, and it doesn't actually make any sense. So yeah, there are a few teams that I think are that's a big problem holding the back. I think Desolate just has a lot of issues in general, to be honest. I think the 2 biggest problem teams are Hash and Desolate for me, for just all around problems. But yeah, I had Desolate rated last for a reason. Until they like really show like a big sign of life to me, I think their roster just doesn't really scream anything. I mean, Sindillion's like a fine player, but like Blazing Hot, Cinderhulk, Rhino, Tazeel, like I'm not looking to any of these players to really step up, and I don't think Sindillion was known as much as a solo carry player. Really.
Cinderhulk kind of surprised me in his pathing. He was at the right place at the right time, I feel, a lot of the times, but the rest of it, the team comp issue was just a big problem. Like it was like constant counter ganks in that series. And it was really entertaining to watch that, but they would win the counter gank, and it's just like, okay, well, your team comp's still going to lose. So I really would have liked to have seen Desolate on a team comp that had the advantage, either mid game or late game, or even early game, just some time in the game where they could press their advantage. Oh, and another big thing too that True Light and I were talking about is they had 2 mountain drags, and they had the lead in game 1. And they didn't go for the Herald for that first turret take, which could have given them a really big gold lead when Camille was pushing top. They just didn't think about their comp or like what to do with what dragons they get, and it really messed them up in that series game 1.
Should we slide into the last matchup that we had last week? We haven't talked about Vortex versus Spellchat.
Yep.
I just want to talk about game 1. Yeah, it was one-sided. Spellchat kind of rolled over. Warpack went 13-4 as LeBlanc into Aurelion Soul. I don't think Vortex is a bad team. I put them on the bottom 6, but they look like they have signs of life. And then you look at I don't know how to say the ADK's name. I'm gonna say Izan.
It's Aizen, yeah. I'm close friends with all of them on there, so I have some things to say about that roster too. Yeah,
Aizen went PD on my boy Varus. I don't think I've seen an AD build that he went PD Wits End BF Sword. I'm just nitpicking builds here, but that tilts me just looking at. I don't think anyone's gone like non-AP build in like a minute. So
yeah, I think he wanted it for the Nocturne, but Nocturne would just one-shot him anyway, so it was a little because he was so fed.
And even if Nocturne's not one-shotting him, the LeBlanc's gonna one-shot him either way.
Yeah, and you won't even be able to get an auto attack on her for the passive by the time you're dead.
Yeah. So that just confused me. And then game 2, they had a better, like they had much more like signs of life. Like it wasn't like a nearly big old stomp. Like you don't have a 1-in-7 mid laner this game. It just looked like Spellchat just played the map better. Like especially early game, they just had what's his face Gasp run around the map and just give kills to everyone, and they kind of just pushed off that with Sivir and Lulu.
Yeah, I think
Spellchat
probably knows how to play 1-3-1 the best right now, in my opinion, which I think is a really strong playstyle with especially like the top lane pool changes right now that are going around, because tanks are getting worse and inherently like bruisers are getting better because ADCs deal less damage to them. And then like assassins are like still good, and like mages are still like fine, right? Like Warpack loves the split push, and their top laner likes the split push. And I think like a lot of teams that have like poor synergy just get like pulled apart on the map pretty much and just caught everywhere by them.
Yeah, Mango's playing champions that are meant to split push in 1v1. Like he played Urgot, he played GP in most of this series. Like GP's just gonna give the ultimate across the map. And Urgot's literally just there to 1v1 the enemy top laner, or whoever's going against him.
Yeah, I think pretty much any team that doesn't have a strong enough top and mid to like handle Mango and Warpack in lane is just going to probably get rolled. Like, I don't even think their bot lane is like that important to their team. I think Gasp is just a good jungler. He knows how to path, he knows how to set up ganks, and then Warpack and Mango are just like looking for solo kills all lane, basically.
I want to add this too. Vortex's mid laner, Karama, he was put into very bad matchups. The second game of Vlad against Anivia, I talked to him about it, and he did want to ban Anivia, but he kind of like zoned out and didn't mention it to his team. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but Anivia is definitely like a very staple Vladimir counter in the mid lane because he just can't keep up with her wave clear. So that, he just lost an immense amount of pressure. And then game 1, as soon as I saw the LeBlanc pick against Asol, I knew he was going to be able to do things pre-6, but once she's 6, like, that lane's over. She has a huge...
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Warpack's an insane mid laner. Like, personally, I think, like, Sandillion and, like, Charlie and, DTS are all, like, up there, either above him or, like, equal with him. I just think that they have a team that plays really well around their mid laner. Or like trying to get him ahead, or like Mango draws a lot of jungle pressure to himself, and then Gasp is really good at setting Warpack ahead. And I think Warpack's just a good snowball player, is what he's good at. So,
I think the top side of that map, first Spellchat, like top jungle and mid have a very good support system between the three. Z isn't going to solo carry. I mean, sure he'll probably have games where he solo carries, but he's not going to solo carry every single game with support on this team. Whereas with the top 3 players, they're playing really well together already, and we've seen that in the play-ins. We saw that
he actually played really good in the play-ins against us. I think he went like 12-1 or something on Ezreal and just like destroyed it.
Yeah, we played against him in the play-ins as well. I'm not sure what he Warpack played Fizz mid and he went 0-1-11. So really it's not a terrible KDA, but not you don't want 0 kills and 11 assists on Fizz.
Yeah.
To be fair, I did play Lulu mid into him because I think Lulu mid's actually like pretty OP into a lot of these mids in the peak up because they're like high value like assassin players in peak up. I feel like if you play Lulu or Karma into them, you really do like alleviate a lot of the pressure they can get in lane. So that kind of shut him down in our matchup. on square one. I think Gasp is a just superb jungler. He's really good. He knows like where to be, what to do. And I feel like if it wasn't for Gasp, I think Spell Chat would be kind of lost in what to do. It seems like, I mean, they seem like great guys, but they seem like a lot of memers, and Gasp seems to be the one to really kind of like whip them into shape for calls. From what he seems like, what he talks about outside of the game and things like that, he seems to be the shot caller for that team. So I think either you want to just kind of hard camp the enemy jungler, Gasp, try to get him tilted so he can't make good plays or good shot calls, just be tilted, or you want to stay on the bot side, because I think Edzy's support it leaves a lot to be desired in that person supporting. I think it's a girl gamer or whatever, just plays Janna, just sits there.
Grande or whatever her name is.
Yeah, Ariangi or whatever, yeah. Yeah, Selena Gomez, whatever her name is, okay? She just sits back as Janna, just puts shields, and that's fine, you know. That's if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. But I feel like because of that, their mid bot side is kind of weak, because Warpack has really hit or miss games. He never really ints, but in the games we played against him, he didn't really pop off. So if you can just keep him, Mango seems really good. Seems like he plays cheese picks, doesn't play tanks.
Yeah.
Ever.
I think a big thing is, as I said, like if you have a mid laner that can just like deal with Warpack, I think that's really big for the team. For also because that influences Gasp as well.
Yeah.
Because he likes to play around, and then it kind of messes with their 1-3-1 style, right? Because then they kind of have to play 1-4 and those kind of things. Right?
That's actually a good point, because
really breaks up the style they want to play.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he still does play things like a Nivea and stuff, which will group up and play with like an Ezreal or something safe, like they play with Edzy, and just try and scale out the game. They have other styles they can play, but I think just trying to break up the 1-3-1 style, get like an uncomfortable matchup for Warpack, I think that's probably their most exploitable source for me.
Or even go some type of like semi-global comp against them, like if you can play TF, just collapse on the 1-3-1, just kill like either the top laner or whoever's splitting bot, just collapse on it like that, and then group up again quick. That would probably be one of my answers to it. Just do something that they wouldn't expect. Have like an Evelynn mid, just sneak up on somebody and kill them when they're alone. Something.
So, all right, moving
do you
on.
want to jump into predictions, or do you want to jump into talking about top 5 and roles?
I think let's do matchup predictions first, and then we can kind of explain like more of what we thought from like this work like matchup, power rankings, and then players afterwards.
All right.
That's how I want to do it. So the first one is free tay-k. I don't know. I always want to say TK.
Free Tom Kench.
It literally says Tay.
Unbench the Kench. Free Mango Ray. Anyways, so for these two, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give the 0-2 or 2-0 towards IRL Sluts, however you want to put it. I think IRL Sluts, I think their roster changes could end up being bad. I think Astrus and their top laner Josephumi were really good, especially the top lane downgrade. I think could end up being really bad for them. I mean, they said themselves they're not sure how it's going to work out, but this is like a change one to make. But on the other front, I think like their setup is decent for tay-k, right? If they have I'm better on top on a tank again, he's not really going to be punishing Fat Rat. I think Soto is fine in the Sniff and Muffins. I think Hide on Blake's also a good matchup down there. And then I think the bot lane for IRL is probably going to beat out the bot lane for tay-k. And then I think IRL's just been like a pretty solid macro team as well.
For me, when looking at the series, I'm not salty because I lost, I'm off the team, whatever. But I still think IRL's is gonna win, but I think it's gonna be a closer series, like a 1-2. So I think if what's the team's name? Sorry, I can't even think right now. My mind's going crazy. If IRL loses top lane, because in my opinion, Fat Rat is not even like no disrespect or anything. I think Fat Rat's like probably the worst jungler or top laner on this team, on this roster, on anything. Any top laner that's been on this roster, he's like the worst.
Yeah.
Like we've had Josephumi, we've had Kyoshi. Kyoshi's by far like leaps and bounds better than Fat.
Okay. I
think that free tay-k, if they play through top lane with Sniff and Muffins and even Gerson playing through top lane, and just have I'm better on top, just play. He can play his tanks, he can play whatever, as long as they give a substantial lead top lane and spread it across the map, they can win the game. Now, am I saying to win the series? No, I think IRL Sluts has a better bot lane, just easy. I don't think Opposin's that good. Haidam Blake, he is definitely the better mid laner than Gerson, which is why I think they have to play through top lane, or free tay-k has to play through top lane to win. And then I think Soto is probably even with Sniff and Muffins.
Yeah.
I do think that IRL will win.
I'm just off the series I played against. I'm better on top. I'm not convinced that he's gonna be a huge carry player personally. But if he starts bringing out the carry style, like as I said, he was super hyped coming out of play-ins, and clearly he must have carried some games. People wouldn't have been putting him #1 top laner, right? He's one of the highest ranked top laners, if not tied for the highest ranked top laners in the league. But if he's gonna just sit on a tank top like he did in the series against us, then I'm just not really convinced, right? So until he kind of shows me that he's gonna play that style, and I've seen it for myself, I'm just don't have enough faith to give them the one game personally.
I gotta believe. You know, opposes my voice, so I gotta believe in him.
Yeah, I'll probably make it a 1-2 as well, only for the fact that IRL Sluts got Lucian both games. I would like to see their AD play something else that doesn't just roll over lane, because in mid to late game they did look a little weak, especially against the Rabid Raccoons, where that may have just been the Raccoons being like really good at executing Baron calls, because that's where they threw pretty hard leads. But if I would have seen him on a different champ other than Lucian and still dominate lane, I probably would have made it an 0-2 in favor of IRL. But until then, it's just, I don't know. I think IRL has the better mid laner, and the bot lane looks really good for IRL.
Mm-hmm. So moving on to the next series, Spell It Chat versus Rabid Raccoons. I think this is just going to be a worse version of what happened last time, because I think Spell It Chat has a huge upgrade in the top lane. I think they're fairly even in the mid lane, and I think their bot lane is a lot better. Or not their bot lane per se, but I think their ADC might be better. I actually don't know. Is IRL Sluts ADC like super good? Who is
IRL Sluts? He played Lucian both games, and this is he's a
he's
nobody, but we don't know
pretty
we don't know him.
Okay. I'll say he's maybe better than him. Maybe I'm underestimating him then. But I think Spell It Chat has at least an advantage jungle top and is like fairly close ADC mid, right? So I think Spell It Chat's just gonna exploit Rabid's solo lanes like harder than IRL Sluts did. And I also think from at least playing both teams, I think Spell It Chat's macros also better than IRL Sluts, which as you said is how Rabid tried to kind of punish them.
Right.
So I'm going to give it an 0-2 as well, just because I think this is going to be a harder match than their last one, and they did go 0-2 in their last matchup. Again, I think it's just super unlucky for Rabid to have to play these two teams their first 2 weeks.
The Vortex also has
to improve or whatever. But I'm just
Vortex
not
has a really
seeing
bad
it right
lineup
now.
Yeah, I think this is we're gonna get run over series.
Yeah.
Rabid Raccoons are a good team, but in the laning phase they're not good. And if Wordpack plays LeBlanc again, he's going to just run over Mad Life mid laner. I think the jungle matchup's probably the closest that we have out of all the matchups. But even then, I think Gas is going to beat Long or One Ong or whatever his name is, and it's just going to be kind of over. So yeah, it's pretty simple.
I have faith in the Coons, baby. 2-0. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like it's pretty poetic, actually, because Raccoons, they get a lot of source of their food from going through trash cans, right? So they got to start off in the trash can, and then by playoffs, they're going to have momentum by bodying these other teams.
They're going to be feeding off the bottom of the ladder.
They're just getting it all out of the way now, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to just get the worst losses so they can learn and then just body the other teams. They're starting off in Korea boot camp for these first couple weeks. They're going to be good going ahead, I hope.
Yeah, this is just it sucks to talk about these ones because it's like, well, they have a chance, but yeah, it's probably being a 2-0.
Yeah. If they were against Desolate, though, it'd be a fucking 4-0.
Oh, yeah, of course. Wait a second.
No, I was kidding.
So going on to Vortex versus Hashling.
Oof.
Yeah,
It's
this
kind of tough one.
I think is going to be probably one of the closer matchups of the week.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm gonna give the slight edge to Vortex. I think their roster might be a little more solid overall. I think Hash, in what I've seen, doesn't really seem to know how to play through their win conditions that well. And I think Vortex has just been a team for long enough that even though they didn't really show it last week, I think they know how to execute games, right? Like Lopeker, Rexalis, Manwalrus, these are like super long time names in the community. Like, I know Hash as well, with like Adam Goodman was here last season and Freshburger, but Adam swapped lanes. This is a different
swap.
meta for Freshburger, right? Like, he didn't look bad in the Camille, but this isn't something he's known for, right? So I think Hash is kind of going through growing pains right now, and I think it's just going to be easier for Vortex to close out the game, but that doesn't mean it's going to be like a clean 2-0 for me. I just think it's going to be in Vortex's favor, the matchup in general.
Yeah, for me, this is another one of the outclassed. I'm going to give it also a 2-1. I do think Hash can win a game, and like we saw against Ornhub, they played the early game fairly well. It's just later on when you see the macro plays, they don't know what they're doing. They kind of get confused. They see there's opportunities that they can definitely just like not win games off of, but get clear advantages, and they kind of just let it slip through their fingers. So I think Rexalis, Loker, and Karama mainly can just sweep through the rest of Hash. I don't think any of the players on Hash are honestly that good compared to Vortex, so I think this is 2-1. It's going to be a closer series, but I do think Vortex will take it.
Yeah. This is actually kind of a tough one for me, because I want to give them the 2-0, because I do believe that, because they were against Spellachat, and I watched those games pretty closely, and they did really well against Spellachat early, and I feel like where they lost against Spellachat could have been avoided, except for the ASOL part. Like, I feel like if that just didn't happen, that game would have been much more controllable for Vortex. And in game 2, I know exactly where they threw the game. You can even look at the gold graph. It just jumped from like Spellachat barely being ahead to them having 4K and then an inhib like 2 minutes later. Like, it's very obvious where Vortex made a mistake, but I know the mid laner and the support, I know that the top jungle and the AD, they spam solo queue all the time, so they're going to be really ready to go. They're not going to be rusty, but the mid laner and the support, I don't know how much they actually play the game right now. I can't blame them. The meta sucks personally, especially as a mid laner, I feel. But I'll give it the 2-1. I do think they're going to win it, but it will come down. It could be a 2-0, depending on how well the mid and support play.
Okay. So this next one is actually, I think, is going to be the other like really close match for me. I think most people have Jesus ranked a fair amount higher than Ornhub. Like, they're rated as average last week 3.3, right? Ornhub was around 7th. But at least just like looking at the matchups, like where Jabezus is strong, I think is kind of bad for them, because like their strongest points as well are mid jungle, right? Which is where the strong points are for Ornhub. Joseiden is known for being a rock in the top lane. Okay, but that's like not that big a deal, right? And then Sharkbait is kind of inconsistent pop-off player with T-Crank, who's kind of, again, a more like Edsy style, like kind of lives through laning phase and tries to carry later with his team in team fights, right? So I just don't see this as a team that's really going to roll top and bot lane and carry. And I think Ropey and Charlie are probably outclassed by Overrate and Hamilton. I think the biggest thing for if Jabezus is going to win games here for me is I think Ropey has to like try and dump on Overrate somehow. I think Ropey's a good player, and I think Overrate was looking shaky last week, especially early game. But he still like came back late game and was like insanely fed both games, right? And was like one-shotting people. So it's really up to Ropey to kind of keep the leash on Overrate and make sure he doesn't get out of control, and up to Charlie to play safe mid lane, I think. But even if they do that, I'm just not sure where their wins are going to come from. So I'm actually going to give the 2-1 to Ornhub personally, just because I don't see like a big win condition for Jabezus.
Well, so last week Ornhub was against Hash, which we've almost, I think everyone that's talked about it has come to the consensus, I can't speak today, that they are the worst team in the league. So them having a shaky early game is scary for me, because they shouldn't have a shaky early game. It's a team that everyone thought was bad. Is, from what we've seen, bad. So looking at twitch.tv/Jabezus, they were what everyone said, probably top 4, top 5 team. They do have, in my opinion, probably the top 2 AD carry. I'd say top 3 mid and jungler too. Joseiden's a solid player too. Sharkbait is definitely a bad player on the team, just straight up. So we're looking at it just matchup, like each matchup. I think Josiah will win. I think mid lane and jungle are going to be nearly even, especially how shaky Hamilton and Overraid looked early game. Hamilton being down CS and Overraid just dying a lot. And then bot lane, definitely, I'm going to put it in tay-k's favor because he's just definitely a higher ranked player. He's D4 compared to 2 gold players. But I'm actually going to believe in Pornhub. I believe Overraid and Hamilton can carry the late game like they did last time, and hopefully their top laner and their bot lane can just survive, just straight up survive. Svensson did actually kill bot lane a lot, so hopefully they can do that again. But I'm actually going to give them 2-1, just like Fug.
Is after all that hype for Jabezus, you give him the 1-2 against Ornhub?
I think Jabezus has a better team altogether, but I think that as long as the gold players just sit and just survive, Overraid and Hamilton can just farm up, play late game. That's what they did last series. They had a shaky early game, and they can smooth that out just a little bit.
It also
it's gonna be beautiful.
Like, if Jabezus just bans MF, I'm actually not sure how good Ornhub's ADC is gonna be as well.
Yeah, we've only seen him play MF, so he's a no name coming out of nowhere.
As solid as he was last week, assuming MF gets banned every game now.
Hey, you never know. Maybe he plays Ashe, just sits back and does nothing.
Until proven wrong.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna give it to Jabezus here. I just feel like the bot side is just way slanted in Jabezus' favor. I know AD's kind of took a little bit of a hit this patch, supposedly, with all the changes, but I think Charlie can do fine mid. Overraid looked good and bad. Like, he looks really good, but he also looked really, really bad at some points. And I feel like, and he seemed to have like everyone's saying, he seems to have tilted quite a bit, so that's exploitable. Josiah didn't. Just put him on a tank, it's whatever. Or you can put him on Renekton, it's whatever. I just think Charlie and tay-k can probably put in work this series. Personally.
Yeah, I think the thing about this matchup is probably the most closest that we've had in the last 2 weeks or so. I think that Jabezus, if they can play through bot lane, they still probably won't win just because AD carries in a bad position. And tay-k hasn't been one to win lanes. He's like Fug said, he's an edgy type player. He kind of survives lane, just farms it up, plays hope to win the late game. If Svensson plays another aggressive AD carry, we don't know, like Lucian or something like MF, and he plays to win lane, even though there's a huge rank discrepancy, I'm pretty sure that he can win lane and put a lot of pressure on the rest of the map for the rest of the team to win. That's the same thing that happened in the last series too.
He looked pretty good on the Kog'Maw actually in this series against Desolate, and they seem to have known how to make really good comps. Their team comps were really, really good, so I think that could give them an edge.
Yeah, I think Jabezus definitely is one of the better team comp macro-wise teams just because they've been together for so long, and Charlie has a lot of experience, especially, and tay-k I think would be the 2 biggest I'd point to. And then adding in Ropey, who's like a really high elo jungler, I think their shot calling's probably going to be on par with the Ornhub. I just think that jungle and mid are like the 2 biggest important roles late game now that ADC got nerfed, and I just think that Ornn still has an advantage in those roles late game. Like, even though, as you said, Overraid was tilting early, he still played team fights like mechanically like insanely well, right? So I think
I feel like
that's why I'm giving them the advantage.
Overraid and Hamlet can really just put their leashes on, pull the rest of the team, and just pull them along to the late game and just win. So
yeah, this last series I think is gonna be the least close series, and I think our team's probably gonna 2-0.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's that much to say about this one.
Desolate looks shaky. There we go.
You said before when we were writing it, I had Desolate rated as the worst team before. Desolate kind of did as we expected, and then our team beat tay-k pretty soundingly, and tay-k is rated as a significantly better team than Desolate, so I don't really expect anything to change.
On paper, these players from Desolate are strong. Blazing Hot's good, Cinderhulk's good, Syndilion's good, the bot lane's alright. The problem is that we've seen is their pick and ban look horrible, and they just don't know how to play together as a team.
Yeah,
and that's
gonna be an 0-4.
A horrible problem. Yeah, it's just
they're gonna lose the game and the champ selects. It's just not, if they can't get their team comp situation, it's just that's where you got to start. If you can't make a team comp, you're gonna lose the champ select. You're gonna lose the game.
Yeah, it's super simple to be honest. That matchup is just, I think it's easy or 2-0, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'll change it back to an 0-2 for like point correction or whatever. But yeah, if they don't win the champ selects, or go even, it's gonna go really bad.
So we're doing a team
Yeah.
power rankings.
I'm just filling mine in now, and then we can kind of, I guess, talk about it more at the end, because we've kind of, I think, said mostly what we want to say about the teams. If there's something like surprising you want to talk about, you can as you're filling it in. Feel free.
I feel like I definitely think Spellchat's a really, really good team. But I think their early game is definitely exploitable, but we just haven't seen it like come through like mid-game fruition. They'll get exploited early, and then just like the enemy team will throw mid. I know that's Spellchat making good decisions, but it's kind of hard to rate them way up there.
I think mine's a little bit different from last time, at least. I've put, I don't even know what to put for the bottom three. Bottom three are kind of interchangeable, except for hashlinging. Hashling is definitely just, for me, like the worst. Desolate and hashling have to be at the bottom.
Yeah. Let me just like
Okay,
look
so-
at what I wrote
yeah,
for a
just go
second
through.
and see if I
Yeah.
see if I agree with it.
Want to just run through your top 10 real quick and then explain real quick, or
Yeah.
just
All right. So mine, spell it chat until someone like exploits them. I think are just gonna be
Yeah.
uncontested like best team. The only other team that I think is like up there would be like my own team, but again, like we did lose the one game to them in play-ins, so I'm not gonna put myself above them. IRL Sluts, I think I had them ranked higher last time actually. Yeah, I had them ranked above us. I'm not that convinced with the roster. In my opinion, I think their roster swaps is probably a downgrade, just because I thought Astrus was actually pretty good, and I don't think this D3 ADC is gonna be like a massive upgrade. And I thought Josephumi to Fat Rat is like an insanely big downgrade, like insanely big. So I think top lane's actually getting more like important right now, especially against the top teams. So that's why IRL Sluts is dropping a rank for me. As far as Jabezus goes, I think they're still around where I'd expect. Whatever, middle of the pack team. I think Rabid Raccoons dropped a little bit just because like they still did perform as I thought, but I think like some of the mechanically better teams like Vortex and Ornhub I might have to rate a little bit above, because as I thought, Ornhub kind of had the weaknesses I thought they might have. I'm getting a freaking phone call. Sorry, you guys keep going for a second.
So I'll step in. Whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
His team sucked. The Gothboy Click, I think they had the most solid roster altogether. They have, Fug, Knight, ETS, Drowsy, Powerfully. They're a solid roster together. I've seen them scrims. I've seen them play. They definitely look strong. I think Spell It Chat's exploitable, but they are also strong. That's why I put them second. I think Gothboy Click's a little bit not exploitable, but they're harder to beat than Spell It Chat. Everyone knows Spell It Chat's problem, so they should be able to play against them. IRL Sluts is third, I believe. Their AD carry is really good. Their mid lane is really good. Their jungler is really good. Their support's really good. Their only problem that I have, why I dropped them from second, or I think I had first last week. I dropped them from there is because their top laner is so exploitable that you can just run through him. Ornhub 2.0, I'm putting belief in my boys from last season. All of them, if Hamlet and Overrate can put their team on their back and just run through the late game, I think they can win every single game. JB's they're just a solid roster altogether. They can just keep playing together, and they have good comps. They can just play the way they played before, and they can keep up. They can be higher than fifth. I just put them below Ornhub because I believe in them. Red Raccoon shown signs of life last week. They lost their series 2-0 or 0-2, sorry, but they showed signs of life, and they can definitely win. Free tay-k, same thing. I think they did show a little bit of signs of life. Not as many ways to win as other teams, but they are a strong team. Vortex, I would say, is a strong team, but they didn't show it last week. I think their bot lane's really not playing well, and the rest of the team's actually not playing well either. And then Desolate and Hash are interchangeable. I still think Hash is the worst team. I'm going to put Hash below Desolate because of Freshburger, but these two teams look like the worst, just easily the worst.
Yeah. Spell Chat, obviously really good team. Yet to see a team really hit him where it hurts. Goth Boy, I think they're a really good team. I definitely feel like if you can get... I'm really good friends with DTS, but I feel like if you can get him behind mid, it really does hurt their overall impact. Because you know that the mid jungle, they're just always going to try to get mid fed by ganks and things like that. If mid can just play something safe and stay back, build a banner or something, I don't know, just don't die. It's really hard not to die against DTS, but if you can, I feel like they could lose a few games off that. IRL Sluts, pretty unanimously agreed to be the third team. A really good team, although they did look pretty shaky at some points against Rabid Raccoons, but we'll just have to see more as time goes on. Jabizas, a really good team, good bot lane, good mid, good jungle, good overall team comp setup, and seem to have a good mental. Rabid Raccoons, these are like, I don't know, these guys are like the standard. They should be like I don't know how to explain it exactly, but inside a game, they just seem untiltable. Like no matter what, they're always going to try to do something. In their game 2, they went for like such an intelligent Baron call. Like if they weren't so far behind and they didn't play a few things after that wrong, they could have won that game. Pornhub seemed to be kind of like the polar opposite in the mental department. They seem to tilt pretty easily. Just a couple players. They need to just focus on their play and don't care about what anyone's saying or how they think they're going to look on stream. Just play how they should and they'll be all right. Vortex, good team. They're probably in between Ornn and Raccoon for mental. They can keep their head pretty level at times. Mid lane, he's a really good player. If you practice some more, he can definitely be rated quite higher. Their bot lane, I actually think, is really, really good. Aizen is a very smart player, and he's normally a shot caller, and he knows how to play through win conditions bot. Free tay-k, yet to be really astonished from them. Hash, yeah, we've been there. Not the best of teams, but they could 2-0 Desolate and Champ Select, so I'm good with that. And then Desolate, just a lot of problems, but good players. They could come back.
Yeah, I think with the bottom 2 teams specifically, they have. I'm gonna say Freshburger is bad, but Freshburger is a good player, or at least a decent player, and a damn good man is a good player too.
Oh yeah.
And then looking at Desolate, they have Scintillating and Blazing Hot, but they just don't have a structure and a team structure to play. Like, we saw Desolate's horrible team comps, and we saw Patch just falling apart in the mid game. I think they could be better, but right now they are just definitely 9th and 10th.
Yeah. Actually, if I could change anything about my list, I might put Desolate above Hash, because despite the Champ Select issues, they actually did surprise me a little bit in their gameplay, despite not having a clear win condition and what to go off of. They still did do well in game, so that's hopeful.
Is Fug here to move
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do the top 5
I
in
just
each
didn't
role.
wanna interrupt. Yeah. We can move on to top 5 each role. So basically just copy paste them in as you want. We can just go in order for now. So Pickaxe, if you want to start, what role do you want to place first? You can choose if you want to start 1 or 5 and then do a roll, and we'll just keep going until we fill it in.
So go from we can either go from the best or the worst up.
Yeah,
that
well,
what you're
fifth isn't the worst in the rolls, right? So it's still top 5, right?
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Whatever you think's easier to visualize.
I think it's probably best to start with the best, in my opinion. Just the one that's comes to mind immediately and just really astonished me. Probably have to go with Mango. He does trollish kind of picks or builds or whatever. I know for the most part they're meta, but he seemed to play those kind of niche things really well. He seems to know a lot of top matchups and things like that. So that's who I'm definitely going to put for number 1 in top. Do you guys want to do your number 1 in top, and then we do 2?
Yeah,
and
I think for that, I'm going to put the exact same. I don't think anyone's going to really contest this until Mango stops destroying every top laner he lanes against.
Yeah, it's you never know what he's going to play or how he's going to build. It's just so annoying.
Yeah, pretty much. His champion pool is really big. It seems like he's just borderline trolling half the time,
right.
But it usually works out. I mean, at the same point of he may not know that much about the champion he's playing, but also the person laning against him has no idea how to lane against it. And I think he just in general knows how to lane well.
It kind of reminds me of Death Design, his play style, but just if it worked a little bit better.
Yeah.
If you guys know him, he was the top laner on my team. Very similar playstyle in a lot of ways.
I played against him a few
Yeah.
times. But anyways, moving on.
Moving on to the second.
Number 2 in top lane.
I guess I'll take it over.
Yeah, you can go. Sure.
So I'm going to put my boy in this call Fug there. Not just because he's in the top 2 team, but I do think he is the second strongest top laner. The only one that I would really look at next to is probably I'm on better top. He's just you. This feels weird to say talking about you when you're right here, but you definitely are a strong top laner, and compared to everyone else here, they all suck. So super simple, super sweet. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's just awkward for me to kind of jerk myself a bit, so I'll let you.
Yeah. This is probably going to be a little bit of like a thinking emoji to some people, but just for the sake of like mixing it up a little bit, and I do have some backup for this. I feel like this guy is like budget Mango. He has come
actually
like
gonna put Beast Snake pretty high
Yeah.
in mine as well. He's been performing really well.
he does really well. We played against him in the tiebreaker, obviously, death against him, and he knows how to play against aggressive playstyle really well, and he almost like punishes people really hard for it. So like if there was someone, he just gets number 2 in my eyes for proxy of I think he would do well against Mango, and because of that he kind of gets like the second spot since Mango's number 1. So that's
The only novelist top lane player I know of.
and Tom Kench. He just says Tom Kench is nasty.
I hate
Like,
playing
so
as that champion.
I hate that because I'm just like, oh, this is such an easy play to make, and then he Tom Kench ults behind you with like their AD and just peels. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
So
I think Beast Snake's really solid as well.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna put him number 2, but I'm gonna go ahead and put myself number 2 as well.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. Okay,
Bias.
just because, to be honest, I've played against a lot of the top laners. I think Blazing Hot was looking pretty, like, I don't know if he was like on tilt or something last week, but his build and his playstyle was like really weird. I think I've played against Freshburger a lot. I played against Joe Sidon a lot. I just played against I'm Better on Top. The only players I don't like are kind of more question mark to me is Fat Rat, Akuma, and Beast Snake. Beast Snake might be better than me. I just haven't played against him at all, and I think most people would agree that I don't think Fat Rat or Akuma are top 5 at all in top lane, so I'm not too concerned. The only other person I'd put up that would be like in contention besides Beast Snake would be maybe Rexalis, but I also think Rexalis is like a very just like rock kind of Josidon kind of player, just higher rated Josidon. Yeah.
So going on to the third, I guess I'll put mine. I'm gonna put Josidon because he is a solid player, like you said, the rock. He will be there. I would say that he's like the most consistent player on JB's. I keep trying to say Eat Street, but for JB's, he's probably like the most consistent player, as in like he's just gonna play whatever you want for him top. He's gonna do decent. Maybe he'll give a couple kills, maybe he'll get a couple kills, whatever. But he will be there to be your consistent top laner. And that's why I put him third, because I think being a consistent top laner is really good in this league, because we don't have that many consistent top laners. So yeah.
Just to put it in quickly, for similar reasons you stated, I'm just putting Beast Snake as my number 3. I think he's kind of understated right now, but I think as he plays more games, people are going to notice more of how annoying I think his playstyle is. And I think he has, like, just from looking at the numbers, he stood out to me, so I started watching some of his games, and I think his playstyle is really unique, and I think he brings something, like, pretty interesting to the league.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. I don't know if it's him calling for certain plays, but like he seems to know where to be at the right time. I don't know if he's being told to be there, but if it's his own decision making to be there, he's really, really smart top laner. And for my third, it's kind of hard. It's like close between a couple, but I'll go ahead and put Fug because I do think you're on like a really, really good team. So it's definitely, I'm not like trying to flame or anything, but it's definitely easier to like perform really well when you're on a good team. So you definitely like edge out other people.
I should move the chat so people can actually see this.
Yeah, it's right all over that. I was about to point that out.
I'm just gonna move it over here.
It's okay. We can see mine. That's all that matters. Oh, it's going away.
There.
No. But yeah, I think you definitely edge out ahead of the other choices.
Yeah. To go for the next one, I think pretty much for similar reasons for Josidon, I'm going to put Freshburger. I think Freshburger is just putting in a lot of games to really adapt to the meta right now, which I think is pretty big. He's like just really trying to learn like the Renekton, the Camille and stuff. Because as I said, like tanks kind of got nerfed, the ADC change patch, right? Because like a lot more true damage got put in, and it just got easier to kill them and harder to kill squishies. So the squishy top laners are getting better. And I think even before, when he was like, as he's known as like the tank player, I think he was just from laning against him more consistent than Josidon. So that's why I'm putting him number 4.
I'll let Pickaxe go. Go Pickaxe.
Okay, I'm actually gonna put Rexalis here. I think people, because there is such a lot of top lane talent, especially this year compared to last year, he should draw bans against a lot of teams, and that's always good. That's immediate pressure even without having to be in the game yet. You have to at least ban out 1 or 2 of his champs, which frees up some picks from the other laners. I play with him a lot. We do like a lot of custom in-houses and stuff like that, and he definitely draws bans there as well. And I get to see his play style. He is a rock, and you compared him to Josidon, but I actually think he's on a more well-rounded team than Josidon a little bit. If Kurama can play more and Manwalrus can do better too, I think Vortex actually has a lot of promise. So I'm just gonna put him as my number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm putting Blazing Hot. I think he's a not consistent player, but a pop-off player. He's played well before, and I'm gonna say it was just an unlucky series for Desolate and for him in general. He is a very good top laner, and I not much to say. I literally think it's just an unlucky series, and he could have played much better. If Desolate can get their team comps just much better, no Ornn mid and stuff like that, he will have a better chance of being able to carry games just because he can win through the lane, all that. So that's why I put him 4.
And for my number 5, I'm putting Rexalis, just because he is like a diamond level player, and I think he is really solid and one of the better members on, like probably second best player on Vortex, if not like their best player. I just think maybe he just hasn't had like a really standout performance to me is the only reason I have him down at number 5. I haven't seen really that many games where it's been like Rexalis solo carrying, like destroying a game. I just think Rexalis is a good player, and I think Rexalis can handle basically all the other top laners that are below him, and I think he could like destroy some of the like lower rated top laners such as like Fat Rat or Akuma, those kind of things. So that's why he's my number 5.
For my number 5, as much as I shit on him constantly, I'm gonna put my boy Freshburger. I think I copied it whatever that way, but yeah, I believe he is a good player. We saw in the Hatch versus Ornhub, he played the early game very well. It was just kind of his team's fault really for them losing the game because they didn't play around him being the win condition and playing around him split pushing as the win condition.
I think
that's
that
his
would be
team's fault.
His choice as well, right? Like he chose not to split push, which I mean, as you said, it's his team was behind, but it's also, I think he might just not be used to the split push playstyle as much.
I think as he develops more as a player over the season, he will definitely be a better top laner. But he is better than the top laners we have now. The only other top laners I would put is I'm better on top. I could literally put in for anyone from 3rd to 5th.
Yeah,
I'd put it in. Same thing with Beast.
Say, like, it's hard not to put him in. I think just his performance last week was very meh. Like, that's just what it screamed to me. It was like, he just kind of sat top lane, whatever. I'm hoping he performs a lot better next week, and we're going to see him bump up into the top 5, because as I said, he was someone I was really excited to play against, but I think he just had a really understated performance last week, so that's why he's not appearing for me.
Yeah, I think he will be a good top laner. It's just his team holding him back, you know?
For my number 5, I'll go ahead and put Josidon, actually, because this last spot's pretty hard for me because I don't really know super well the rest of the top laners and like their strengths and weaknesses. But I'll go off of him for week 2 performance. I think he has an easier game to play, and he can shine in a game like that compared to some of these other tops who are going to be in unfortunate matchups, like whole team-wide matchups. So I'm just going to put Josidon because I think he has more tools to pop off week 2 than some other top laners.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm definitely looking for. Freshburger is like, he had a pretty good performance last week. Obviously, they didn't win any games off it. He wasn't like he didn't carry the game, I guess, but his performance was good. And now that he's playing against Rexalis, who I have ranked just below him, you have ranked just above him. I'm assuming
Yeah.
Rexalis would be somewhere around 6th or 7th on Astrus's list. So that's like a pretty big matchup in the top lane, I think, for to really prove himself, Freshburger, if he's going to stay up in the top 5, or possibly a big matchup for Rexalis to prove himself to move up higher.
Good point.
Fuck you, Freshburger. I'm done boosting your ego. So, on to jungle. I'll just start. My number 1 jungler is going to be... You know what? I'm going to give it to Overrate. I think even though he had a shaky game, or first series, I think he will definitely, sweep it up a bit, make it a little nice and a little cleaner. He is probably the best jungler in the league. But the problem is he doesn't have as much winning points to win through. Like, Akuma is not that good. Svensson's not that good. Their support's good, but you don't really win through a support. So it only has Hamlet to play through. But I do think he is the best jungler. So yeah.
Jungle's a hard one, I think, personally, because there's I think Overrate, Ropey, Gasp, Zed are all really good. I think Zed had a bad performance last week. He was internet and sick and whatever. I can make whatever excuses for my teammate I want, but I think most people on our team would agree that Zed's performance did not live up to how he normally plays last week. So I'm not going to be putting him in the number 1. I think I'm going to be putting Gasp just because I think he played more consistent than Overrate in my eyes. So right now he's the number 1 to me.
Yeah. My reasoning too is I feel like Overrate, that's fun to say. He has a better top laner than Overrate does, and he has a better mid laner, or at least a decent mid laner. So because of that, he'll have top and mid pressure, so he can invade and just has more tools through that to be a better jungler than Overrate, because he didn't really have all that much lane pressure in the series that he played, and
it is easier for Gasp to look better than Overrate, but I think he did still look better.
Yeah, because he has good priorities in lanes, so that gives him a little bit of an edge in my eyes.
So for my second jungler, I'm going to put your guys' first jungler in, and it's Gasp. He is just a solid player. We saw him. He does have more win conditions than Overrate, so I think it's easier for him to do everything that Overrate has to do. But he is probably the second best jungler, without a doubt. Night of the Zed being the only one that's close to it, and Ropey. But Gasp, we saw in the games, he just was everywhere. He knew where to be. He was playing the map well. He just was doing great. There's no other way to say it. And yeah, that's why he's in a second.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Overrate as number 2, I think. I think he did have a really shaky early game, but I think most people can agree that if it was a different jungler in those games, they probably wouldn't have won. Especially the late game on the Kayn game. He went Shadow Kayn was just every fight that Freshburger wasn't instantly killing him, he was killing 3 to 4 people in return, right?
Yeah.
Just solo one-shotting people. On Graves, he got really far behind early game and then just started one-shotting the Trundle and got up insanely far ahead. And I think I really value a jungler who can just carry a game. Yes, he had a bad early game, but then he came back and he just destroyed, right? And I think that's pretty big.
He was up in levels the whole game from, I think, outside of maybe level 4 and 5. He came back and was just up in levels the whole game, even when he was 1 and 4. So that's just so they're outclassed in jungle. It's gross to look at.
Alrighty, for mine, I'm gonna put Zed here actually, because I feel like they have a pretty easy matchup for week 2, so it gives them some easy chances to shine against a weaker team. Also, I feel like he's on a superior team again to Overrate, so that bumps Overrate down, and he has a harder matchup Overrate does for this week in comparison to Gothboy. So that's my number 2.
Yeah. For number 3, I'm gonna put Ropey. I think Ropey's just a really solid jungler. He's got pretty good macro. He doesn't make that many mistakes. I don't think he's as flashy as maybe Gasp or Overrate is, but I think he's just a really solid jungler.
Yeah, he's definitely a good player, and I'm actually going to put him 3rd too. He is just the consistent jungler that you're looking for all the time. he's where you need him to be for the most part. I've seen him into a couple games. I've seen him literally pop off games. He's just the jungler you're looking for. Like he's like a baseline. Like this is what you're looking for in a jungler.
Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and put Overrate as my third. You guys already talked about him twice, so I don't have to do too much. But he has good moments, so that's positive. Positive. KDA might not always be positive, but play sometimes positive.
For number 3, I'm putting Knight of Zed.
That's number 4, buddy.
Or 4, sorry. Yeah, math hard. Big brain. Yeah, I think, as I said, like I don't think his performance last week lived up to his previous like performances, so I think he's going to move up in the standings. But just based off how he played last week, I don't think I can put him above the other 3 junglers for now. So that's why I'm putting him in number 4.
For me, I'm actually going to put Soto. I think Soto is the same thing as Ropey. He is the consistent like jungler, like the baseline jungler you're looking for. Knight of the Zed had a unlucky, I'll just say an unlucky series first week, so I'm not going to put him for. But definitely like Soto is better than him. He's more consistent. They had like a shaky little start to their series last week, but he pulled through, started ganking Wizard everywhere, so that's exactly where they needed him. So IRL one, so I'm putting him for.
Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and drop Ropey. He looked pretty promising. That's what I was looking for in his game. So I think that they can do some good work coming up this week.
Yep. Oh my god, choking on my own saliva. Sorry. Moving to the next one. This one's actually hard for me. I think, considering how their team did, Cinderhulk actually played pretty good.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to put him in 5th. But Soto also did actually 2-0 instead of get 0-2'd, so I'm not sure if it's just like winning bias that makes me want to put Soto above him, but for now I'm going to put Soto. And I'm just going to say that I think Cinderhulk's a close 5th, and if he has a good performance this week against our team, then he may move up.
Alrighty, I guess I'll go ahead and go.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Loker Locker here as 5th. They had a hard week 1 against Belichat. It's a hard matchup, but just from playing with him, I've duoed with him and things like that. He's always looking for plays, and even when things go bad, he's still looking for like what they can do in retaliation, and that's really good mindset to have, and especially against a much easier opponent this week.
Yeah, and for my 5th, I'm going to put Knight of the Zed. He's very obviously a top 5 jungler. Just an unlucky week 1, and he'd definitely be higher on the list. I'd honestly probably put him like 2nd or 3rd if you're excluding the week 1. But because the week 1 looks so like spooky, to be honest with you, if it keeps happening, if he keeps lagging later on, yeah, that's gonna be a little unfortunate. But yeah, he's gonna be 5th there. Super simple, super easy.
I was thinking about him as my 5th as well.
All right.
Yeah, the only reason why I didn't put him higher is because of the unlucky lag, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving to mid lane. I don't know if it's just bias just from playing with him so much, but
No, you're right.
Here we go.
DTS number 1. I think he did have
Wow, I'm
a
shocked.
bad early game on the I think it was the Vlad game he played where he started the game like 0-2, but like he just came back and destroyed late game like in every single series regardless of what happens, and then I'd say about like 60-70% of the time he's just like popping off in mid, like killing the laner and stuff. Like even though I think Hamilton and Charlie Smells are like higher rated mid laners than him, I think he's just a more consistent like actual carry mid laner. Hamilton's more of a sit mid, wait till late game kind of person. I think DTS just kind of does it both. So that's why I'm putting him number 1.
So for my number 1, I'm gonna put Hamlet, just because even though he's not like winning games like we saw in the week 1 series, he was behind CS for a good amount of the laning phase. He went 14-1, I believe, in one of the games, and he is like, if you are able to stall at a game, he will carry a game. And there are, like, looking at the last season's Ornhub 2.0, they had a bot lane, they had me, they had a top laner that could win their lanes too. And now they have a gold AD carry that, well, even though week 1 they won their game or won their lane, they probably won't win every lane this season. Same thing with Akuma Shinigami, he probably won't win a lane at all this season. So it's gonna be harder for him to win games. So I think he is the number one if he can continue to carry every single game. And looking at week 1 game, he carried it 14-1. So that's my number 1.
Yeah, Hamlet's definitely a good player, but I'm gonna put DTS here as well. I played against him a lot. We do in-houses and things, and he's there sometimes. And he just really, it seems like when a new patch comes, he's looking for like kind of like new cheese shit that he can incorporate. Like for instance, the Vlad with Spellbinder was a pretty good replacement for Shrelia's, since Shrelia's isn't optimal really anymore on him. And I know he's got some other stuff cooking up, and they have a pretty easy lineup this week to play against. So I'm pretty excited to see him. Hamlet, to me, looked really, really shaky in game 1 of their series. And game 2 was just utter just abomination. He just killed everything. But in game 1, it looked pretty bad. If he would have popped off that game, maybe I would have given it over DTS here.
So let me go with my number 2 since mine is your number 1. I'm putting DPS. He is. I've played with him forever, and he is a great mid laner. He is going to int a couple games, so I am not he's not gonna be my first pick. But he was consistent week 1. I've seen him consistent in scrims before. I've seen him consistent in houses. He's a very good player.
Yeah.
Like you said, he does go for those off meta picks and test stuff out a lot during a new patch, and he will look for anything that's new and anything that he can like work into the mid lane. So that's why I'm putting him second. I think he's just a little bit low Hamilton when it comes to carrying games.
This next one's close to a few mid laners for me. I think I'm gonna put Charlie here as my number. Oh, sorry. Oh my God, I forgot I haven't put Hamilton yet. Okay, yeah, Hamilton. Sorry, Hamilton number 2. I was thinking on number 3 already. Yeah, Hamilton. Spoilers for my number 3, but yeah, Hamilton number 2 for reasons we stated. He had a super good late game in basically all their games. I think his laning's a little bit shakier than DTS's, but I think his late game's super solid.
Yeah. All right. One of the strongest players in peak up. I'm gonna put Freshburger here. No, I'm just kidding. I'll put Hamlet. I'll put Hamlet for a reason stated before. If he doesn't do anything troll to get himself behind, he definitely knows how to pressure through mid and the rest of the map. So, good player.
I guess I might as well move in Charlie number 3 since I already spoiler renode. I think Charlie's just really solid mid laner. He's been high-low for like long ass time. He's been in the league for a super long time. He's won the league before. His macro's solid. His mid lane's solid. He's got a big champion pool. There's like not too many downsides of having Charlie on your team. Or sorry, what is his name? Shekel my Goyum on your team. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I heard that's a bad term, but I don't know what it means. So I'm just gonna. Yeah.
Getting demonetized feels bad, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for my number 3, I'm putting Warpack actually. So the only reason why he's not higher and actually above DTS is because he is a very tilty player, and Spell It Chat is a very meme team, and like the jungler kind of holds them together. But Warpack specifically is a very tilty player. I've seen him when he plays solo queue, he will just tilt if he like starts losing lane. So I think like if teams can like just attack him, basically, he would start falling apart. So that's why I didn't put him higher than DTS or anything higher than 3rd. But yet again, he is, in my opinion, better than Charlie Smells and Sindelian and all the other mid laners that we have. So he is 3rd for me.
Alrighty. I'm actually gonna put, where is he at? Hide on Blake, because he just looked like stupid good on the Orianna. I don't know if they're gonna let that through again, but he like straight turned fights around in that game. And if Orianna gets through against like an incompetent mid laner, I'm not sure. Let me check who they're playing against. Who are they playing against? Oh, free tay-k. I'm not sure about their mid laner, but yeah, if Orianna gets through and he can do those pop off moments, his Orianna just looks really clean, and I want to see him on some other stuff too. So I'll put him in number 3.
I'm going to put Blake in as well, just because I think Blake's good. I think the way I describe Warpack is like a pop-off player. I think against the weaker mids in the team, he can really exploit them, or if he gets an early kill. But I also think Warpack's like probably one of the easier to exploit members on their team, so that's why I don't have him up in my top 4 yet.
And yeah, I'm putting Blake for 4th too. So just to get that one through, because you guys already talked about Blake, he's the same thing. I've seen him solo kill mid laners. I've seen him solo kill mid laners that are better than him. will consider better than him. So he's a really good player, so I'd him fourth.
Alrighty. I'll go ahead and put Warpack because he seems to know. I don't know if it was him making the call or his team making the call for the matchups, but he seems to know what to pick into certain champions. And with the mid laner champions that are good right now, Anivia is still a decent pick. And if that gets through, he could be a menace. He seems competent on assassins as well. If LeBlanc gets through, that could be a problem. So yeah, definitely pop off variable player.
Yeah. For my next one, I'm going to put Warpack just because he did have super strong week 1. As I said, I don't have that much faith right now. He's going to be consistently performing as good as he did week 1. He could prove me wrong and move up, but for now, I'm just cautiously putting him number 5.
And for my number 5, I'm actually I want to put Sindelian because I know he's a good player. I've seen him play last season. I've seen all that before. I've seen him in scrims. He's a good player. Just off of week 1 alone, I don't want to put him there. So if you're excluding week 1, Sindelian's 5th, but for my 5th, it's Charlie. Charlie is, like you guys said before, he's like the mid laner that you would want on a team. Like, no team would go wrong with picking Charlie. He's a good player. And he will solo kill a mid lane. He will carry the late game. He'll do whatever. He's just like the mid laner that you would want on a team.
Alrighty. I think I have to say something nice about their team. So I'll go ahead and put Deathless mid laner here, Sindelian. He was like really the only thing going well for them in those 2 games they played. And if the comps would have been a little bit different, I think he could have super shined in that series. So I'll go ahead and put him here.
Yeah, Sindelian's good. I just the week 1 hurts my head.
Yeah.
ADC is the role that gets harder for me to rate because as a lowly top laner, I do not look down there as often as I probably should. So a lot of this is going to be based off of either I saw one of their streamed games,
Alright.
or
Here we go.
someone that plays ADC told me how good they are. But
So
yeah.
my number 1 is Astrus. No. Also, our number 1 is gonna be actually Notorious Gad, my replacement. He played Lucian 2 games in a row, and I want to see more from him because it's the only thing we've seen from him at all. But he won lane on Lucian and then ended up winning game on Lucian, and he just took his lead and just rolled with it and went off with it. So I think he's gonna be number 1, not just because of ranked, but because he literally took the team. Like, don't get me wrong, Blake played well, Soto played well, Nahor played well, but he like just took the team on his back with Lucian, just ran it down mid, just won the game.
Yeah, I'm just gonna agree with that just because I think Notorious is like the biggest standout like carry ADC to me. I think Drowsy had good late game performances, Edgy's had good late game performances. Like a lot of them are kind of like they're hitting their item spikes on like Sivir or like Ezreal and these kind of champions and popping off. But there's not that many people that just like destroy bot lane and just take over the game right now that I saw. So that's why I'm putting like Notorious GAD as my number 1 as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put Notorious Lucian as well. I'd like to see him on some other champs, but he looked really, really clean on that. The whole bot lane synergy was just really good, and we'll see how he does week 2.
I guess I'll keep with the 80 carry train. So my number 2. This is so hard. I'm gonna put T-Crank because I know he's a consistent player. He may not win every single lane, but he'll definitely beat all the lower 80 carries like Drowsy, Alf, opposing like lower ranked 80 carries at least. He has been able to win lane against them, and he isn't just a consistent 80 carry. He'll farm, he'll sit there and farm, stay safe in lane, don't die, and then hey, it's late game. Let me just do 2k just do crits on you all day and just kill you. So I think he's gonna be a good player. He played well in his series last week. So
Yeah, for similar reasons, I'm putting Edgy as my number 2. I think Edgy's just super solid. Probably one of the best like late game ADCs. Like he's not like known for like smashing, but like if he gets a kill early, he will probably like take over the game, even though he's not known for it. And I've seen him like hard carry games and the rest of his team's just doing like even before, especially on champs like Ezreal, like the big late game scalers. Edzy's just someone you can like rely on in those big team fights.
I'm actually going to put a new player. I'm going to put Eisen here. I played a lot with him. He knows how the game should be played, and he's always communicating about how they can get pressure through bot lane and like when things can be set up and things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and put him number 2. he had a pretty bad week 1, but he's definitely a player to watch out for.
For my number 3, I'm gonna have to put Edzy. He is wrong part. He is definitely like contention for number 2 with tay-k. He has more of an ability to just solo carry games and not wait till late game to solo carry them. He'll just take it over early game and just win lane and just like roll over the rest of the team with them. But I think he's gonna have a harder time doing that with his. I think he has like a silver support or a gold support, whatever it is. So I think he has a harder time going through and winning through the lane. I do think he is like top 2 material for AD carry. He just has a unfortunate laning partner to play through, but he is definitely a very talented AD carry.
For my number 3, I want to put big bias on my team. I'm gonna put Drowsy number 3 above tay-k, just because I think he had a really solid week 1. I think if you like watch back our team fights, like our team was not really winning, especially game 1 that hard, and then we just got like 2 really good team fights, like insta won the game. And I think a lot of it was off of Drowsy playing super good in the fights. And it's also because he has one of the higher rated supports in the league with Powerfully. Could be bias on why I think they're doing so good in lane, but he has been, at least from what I've seen of him, playing really good in lane, so that's why I'm putting him.
Alrighty. I just want to add this one thing onto my reason I put Aizen there. He plays a dumb amount of League of Legends, Aizen. He plays on his main and his Smurf like a lot. So that's just a little bit of backup for number 2. I have a lot of faith that he'll perform. But on to number 3, I'm actually going to put Alf. If you watch their games, his Sivir was like really, really good. His whole team's just inting right in front of him, and he's playing the fights really well, getting like 2 or 3 kills almost without frontline as Sivir. And his Ashe is really clean. I hope they bring it out with Tom Kench or something like that again. That's just a lot of pressure you can't really ignore. So I'm going to have to put him as number 3 here. His stats are really good if you look at his account. He's a nutty player.
Yeah, so my 4th actually is Alpha 2. I think I've seen him before in other leagues, and he's played very, very well.
Yeah.
It may just be, like we talked before, unlucky, he has 2 really bad matchup week 1 and his upcoming week 2.
Yeah.
But I do think he is going to be a much better player. Like, he's definitely top 5 material. I don't know if he'll stay in the 4th, but he's definitely a great AD carry. It's just, I think, unlucky matchups week 1 and week 2.
My next one I'm going to put is tay-k, because he has been like staple ADC. He's really solid. And I think like Sharkbait is a pop-off kind of support. And I think sometimes they could be a bot lane that will really just like destroy some of the lower tier bot lanes. And I think even if Sharkbait has a bad game, I think tay-k's someone who can play safe and just like smooth it out kind of thing, right? And just hold out for late games. So I don't think he's someone you can underestimate. I just think from watching him, I don't think his like late game ADC like carrying is quite as good as the other people I've put above him right now. But I think that he is still a really solid player.
Yeah, I'm actually going to put tay-k as well. He seems like such a value player because even if he dies in a fight, he can still cast while he's dead. So he can just help his team through that. I'll put him as my number 4.
God damn it. This last one is the hardest one for me. Or like my brain actually hurts because for 5th place for AD carry for me, don't want to put any of these players. I'm gonna have to put Opposin. I don't think Drowsy is that good, like in general. I've played against him. I've seen people play against him, and yeah, he will win lanes, but it's not because of him. It's because of his support and because of his jungle and mid interaction a lot.
Yeah.
So he doesn't win game or win lane at all based off his own play.
Is again like I don't see Drowsy lane that much because I'm on his team, so I'm just going off of I see him doing well bot lane. That's why I ranked him so high, right? And then so my main interactions is in the team fights where I see him do well. So I mean, you could be right on him. It could just be Doxling Powerhouse or Powerfully as his in-game name is, but I don't really see him lane that much.
As for Opposin, I think he is like he's the captain of free tay-k. He is the heart of free tay-k. I think if he is not given resources to win, he won't win games, and he's gonna have a harder time against other teams. But I do think he is alone and maybe with his bot lane, he is a better AD carry than the rest of AD carries on the list, like Drowsy, Cook with the Dragon, Svensson, Ryan or whatever, and Isa or whatever. Yeah, he's definitely a better AD carry just looking at him compared to the rest.
Yep. My last one, I'm going to put Alf as well. I think, as you said, like kind of unlucky matchup they had to play week 1, and I think that he's going to really shine against some of the weaker bot lanes in the league, or even like just the mid lane bot lanes. And I think just like stats wise and from like seeing him play in CL before and such, like I think he's just a super solid player. Just waiting for him to kind of prove himself more.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be exciting. For my last one, I'm going to put Drowsy here because I'm going to go with your word that he's a good player. I haven't seen him too much, but I'm also picking him for the fact that you guys have a pretty easy game this week, so it'll be easier for him to shine over other AD carries. It's like the first team versus pretty much the last team, so he has a lot of opportunity to really show his stuff in that game.
All right, moving to the last role for support, I'm going to put my boy Powerfully in the support lane. I think he's been having a really good season so far. Yeah, bias probably, but I mean a lot of it is it's easier for me to talk about players who I've seen play a bunch of games, right? When it's week 1, so when I see players on my team playing consistently through like the tons of scrims we've played, it's a lot easier for me to rank them up higher than supports who have only seen play like 2 games, right? So that's my big thing for Powerfully. I've seen him play a lot of matchups and perform super good. That's why I'm putting him up there.
So I'm going to go with my old support Forever Alone. When I played with him, he was probably the most value support that I've seen compared to those points. He is a very good player. We've seen him play very well. He may not have... Well, actually, no, he did well with week 1 because they won lane with MF. So he is a very good player. Maybe not rank-wise if you're looking at it. You might say like Nahor or someone else is better. But I do think for his point value, just to let Hamlet be able to play on a team, he's a very good player. And the only player I can actually think of actually rivaling him skill-wise is Nahor. So I'm going to put him. Whoops, I put Nahor.
Yeah,
I'm putting Forever Alone first.
I do that all the time. Where I say one word when I'm trying to do something else, and I just do the thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pickaxe.
It's kind of tough because I feel like there's a lot of supports that really did show their prowess this past week, but I'm gonna have to put Powerfully here as I think Drowsy is a good AD, and once again, the matchup this week, he has a lot more chances to show him being a better support than the enemy support at least. So I'm going to put him as number 1, and then as it goes on, the list will be a little bit easier to kind of pinpoint places.
Go fuck your biases over.
Yeah, I know, right? I can't even pick anyone else from my team. Wipe sweat off brow. I'm going to put Nahor number 2. He's just a solid support. I think his champion pool is maybe not the best, but I think that the champions he does play are all meta right now, so I think it's like kind of good for him. So that's why I'm putting him there. I think he just isn't as consistent as Drowsy on as many champions from what I've seen of him from when we've played him, but I think he can be a better player and can be someone who can just like win bot lane. I've seen him just like destroy bot lane before in scrims, so I think he's definitely someone to watch out for.
I'm going to put Nahor too. I played with him. I played against him. He is a very good support. He's very abusive in lane against enemy AD carries and enemy supports too. He'll just try to fight as much as he can, and he'll try to win lane through that, which I think works really well with the AD carry they have, who is trying to win lane and just push the game. So I'm going to put him second just because I think he will be the best. Honestly, I think he's going to take over Forever Alone's spot. I think just because point value alone, Forever Alone will be first for me. So yeah, Nahor is definitely like the better player, but I just think he's a little bit tilty. That's the only problem.
Yeah. My second is actually Nahor as well. I feel like Sharkbait, like when Sharkbait really shines, he kind of like reminds me of Nahor. Like Nahor's just like always at that level. It seems like he very rarely like dips below that. So he definitely takes the second place because people can admit that Sharkbait can be really good at times, but I feel like Nahor's kind of at that level like most of the time. So I'll put him at my second here.
Yeah, just because I said in general at one point that Sharkbait is possibly number 3, and then he kept quoting me, I'm gonna have to put him number 3. And I to be honest, I think if Sharkbait actually has a consistent season, he can be a top 3 support, and he had a good week 1, so I'm gonna put him number 3 for now. Obviously, it's kind of, we're gonna have to see if he keeps up this level of play, but I think his week 1 was good, so I'm putting him number 3.
You can go Pickaxe. I'm coughing.
Okay. I'm actually gonna put Uckler as my number 3. He, even when he was behind against our team in the tiebreaker, he kept a level head and was always looking for plays. And if you look at his stats as well for solo queue, he's obviously a pretty good player there as well. Decent for his point value. I know P3 is kind of high for a support, but I think he does add a lot of pressure in bot lane. And as mid-game team fights come, he knows what to look for. So he's number 3 for me.
Damn. Number 3 for me is gonna be Powerfully. Oh, whoops. Okay, whatever. So number 3 is gonna be for me for Powerfully. He is a great support. He does kind of get anchored down, in my opinion, by Drowsy, but he is a very good player. When Drowsy and Powerfully do win, they will push their advantage. Powerfully will go roam and do all that, and put pressure on them after their team. So he does know how to push an advantage, and we've seen it happen in Gospel Click when they do give bot lane an advantage through like NetZ or DTS coming down. Powerfully will return that advantage to the rest of the map. So I think he's gonna be a great player, just not as good as Nahor alone.
For my next one, I think this is where it starts getting a lot murkier off the top 3 for me in this support role. I don't know if I'd put Forever Alone up. To be honest, I thought like they were doing okay like later, but there's like a couple points where Fiery Kiev and Coco the Dragon were looking like the better bot lane to me, at least early game. I think like the MF bot lane took over later, but I think they were ahead early and up a bit of CS, so I'm not really prepared to put him number 3 for me. So I'm gonna put Clear Image just because I think him and Opposin, as you said, like Opposin's kind of like, he's the captain of the team, like the rock of their team, right? And I think Clear Image is also really solid, and when we played against him, he kind of like surprised me for how good he plays considering, and I think like he's just all around like pretty decent. In my opinion, I think Opposin's the weaker end of this bot lane, and I think Clear Image is actually like the better player from what I've heard and from what I've seen.
So for my 4th, I'm actually gonna put Nuggler from Rabid Raccoons because I've seen him before, and he's a solid player. And we saw in the week 1s with Alpha Silver. I don't remember what exactly Nuggler played. I don't off the top of my head, but Nuggler's a solid support. And when you're looking at this Rabid Raccoons bot lane, or just the team in general, their bot lane is same thing as tay-k, like the heart of the team. MetLife mid laner hasn't been like solo killing players. The jungler hasn't really been doing as much, and Beast Snake is another rock top lane, but not as solid as the bot lane is. I think Nuggler is kind of the overlooked support. You're gonna have like players like Fiery Kevin and the other ones that aren't really looked at because we know they're bad, but Nuggler is like overlooked in general, even though he's good. Which
Right.
I don't know. I think he's a good player.
He's paired with Alf, who's a really good player, so it makes him a little bit stronger as well. You're only as good as your duo in that regard. A lot of pro players talk about that. So Alf, definitely a good rock there, and Nuggler right there with him. Sorry, I guess I kind of took your spotlight there for a moment. Yeah. I was gonna put Clear Image here, but I think they actually have a really hard matchup this week with IRL Sluts, especially how well their bot lane's been playing. So I'm actually gonna put Sharkbait here instead as my 4th, because he's kind of like budget Nahor in a way, not to be like mean, but he does have a lot of good moments, more so than some other supports here. Like Fiery Kev just got caught out a lot, and I don't.
Also, to go off the point of Forever Alone, Sharkbait's super point efficient as well.
Right,
Like,
exactly. And he plays tanks, so that's
he's
good.
Gold too, so it's
Right.
pretty solid as far as like bang for your buck for him.
Yeah.
And moving on to my last one, just to keep it consistent and put the bros together, I'm putting Uklar with I think as you guys said, they're kind of like the rock bot lane for Raccoons, right? I think they're as far as their team's concerned, like Beast Snake and them are kind of like the shining stars for me, which is kind of unfortunate because of how powerful mid and jungle pool is in this league, in my opinion. I think it's super weighted towards those two roles. So I think that's kind of unlucky for them, and also they've had some hard matchups, so it's hard for them to shine. But I think against some of the teams that have more exploitable bot lanes, I think the teams that are in like the bottom 5 here, they're going to be really solid.
And for my fifth support, I'm actually choosing Sharkbait. He, like you said, he is a very point effective player, and he is a pop off player too. You've seen him play stuff like Alistar and some tanks that he'll just like run up on people and just kill them like straight up. And maybe that's what T-Crank and twitch.tv/jbees needs, as having a support that just kind of like looks at the enemy bot lane and will just fight, because T-Crank is a very passive player, and maybe he needs a little push to win every single lane, and Sharkbait just running at him, and maybe that's what works for them. Maybe that's exactly what they need. So I think he's just better than the supports. I was gonna put Ariane just because she whatever it is very, very, very point efficient.
Yeah.
But that's too memey. Sharkbait's definitely a better player, so.
Right.
Fair enough.
I think.
Oh.
Oh yeah, sorry, you got your last one still.
Yeah. All good. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Clear Image up here because it is good to have kind of like, I don't know if he's exactly the brains of the team, but you mentioned that he's like the captain of the team, so I'm gonna assume that he has
no, Posen. I'm saying he's just like, I was saying he's laned with the captain.
Oh, so he isn't the captain.
No.
Okay, well I'm gonna say by proxy he is an AD, but by proxy he has a brain, I guess. So I'll give it to his support to kind of help, because supports actually get really empowered if their AD lets them know like what they're doing. So if they can communicate really well bot lane, they can get a lot of pressure through that. That's pretty much my reasoning there. I got kind of memed, but that's all good.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for our week in review. Again, it's pinned in general. If anyone wants to take a peek at this themselves and go through, or if you want to copy it and fill in some of your own stuff for it. I actually messed up the formula here, so ignore this change in rank thing. I need to fix that after I turn off the stream. But anyways, I think so far we agree a lot more, I think, on the team rankings in general. I mean, Spelljack, Gothboy, Click are like 1 and 2. Everyone put IRL number 3. Devises is pretty similar. I think we have like, we're starting to get a general feel for where we want to put these teams. But I think it's a lot more spread out still on the players, just because this is harder to rate. I think in some of the less diverse roles, like especially top lane, I think there's a lot lower power in general, so we agree a lot more on the higher end. And especially with mid lane and jungle as well, there's just so many super huge powerhouses at the top end. It's a lot easier to rate, but I think bot, like ADC and support, is really going to change throughout the season, I think, just because there's so much competition.
Yeah, bot lane's a lot more wishy-washy when it comes to who's the better player. Because you can look at AD carry, and like some of like I'd say like Edzy, off opposing, the ones I put, those are kind of wishy-washy. Some of the other players, like Coco the Dragon, could start coming up. Isan could start coming up. Drowsy could start coming up. All of these players could be better players, and throughout the season, you'll obviously see them go up and down. That bot lane's definitely wishy-washy when it comes to who's better and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
Top lane and jungle though right now, definitely kind of obvious who's top 5 at least.
Yeah.
Or at least top 3.
Yeah, I just quickly on like players who aren't in the top 5, who I'll kind of put as like to watch to rise up in the rankings. I think Sandillion is a big one, that he was listed 5 in one of ours, opposing the other 2, that has been a definite like top 3 performer in last seasons. He may be just being low rated because his team in general is not doing well, and he may prove us wrong there. Yeah.
Well, he actually, I think it's a good answer to the
I think
Irelia.
the Ornn wasn't that bad. He was actually doing fine in lane on the Ornn. I think their team comp in general had other issues.
They had a Jhin, so they had really no damage in that comp, to be honest.
Yeah. But his laning has not been that suspect. I think he's been like, he played like okay that series. Another player I'd say that could possibly like jump up for me is in the ADC. I think Izan, that you put number 2. We didn't put him up, but I think he could definitely jump up in the rankings for us as well.
I can see. I don't know. For mid lane, Sandillion's definitely like, he is fighting for 5th place in my top 5. Like, he should be like right there, but Charlie Smells is definitely just a more consistent player. Just looking off like what we've seen before in week 1, especially. Karama's also a good player too. Gerson's also a good player. These are all players that could be in the top 5. It's just maybe just an unlucky week. Maybe the teams are still settling in, especially since, like I said, it's only been week 1. We haven't seen much yet. But like jungles too. Jungle, we can see some muffins go up too. I think Iong or Long or whatever you want to call him. I think he could be a better jungler. Just as the season goes on, he can be put in the top 5.
I think he was actually a top laner, and then they had to role swap him because their other top had to go or something. It was something weird.
He's actually their sub. Flyers is their main jungle, so I think.
Oh, that's what it was.
I'm not sure if Flyers is going to be returning next week or what's going on with him. If he's on vacation or something, but.
For mine, I actually was thinking about putting Soto up there, but I feel like since they have such a discrepancy in the top lane, it's kind of hard for him to really do a lot of stuff topside. Even with a good mid laner as Hyde and Blake, but you really need a better top laner, in my opinion.
Oh, and there's much more top laners too that can be put up in the top 5.
Yeah.
Like I'm better on top B Snake, Freshburger, Josidon, Blazing Hot, Rick Solis. Like
on top, I think he might have underperformed last week. Like he's the biggest person that stands out to me, and I think like he had a really shit week, and I think he's gonna move up. I think even though he's rated kind of high, I think Knight of Zed also had a really bad week in comparison to how he normally performs and could move up as well. So those are like 2 people who I think could like definitely underperformed from what I've heard about them or seen from them before.
There's literally 8 top laners that could be in the top 5. I think we could all agree that looking at Akuma, Shinigami, and Fat Rat, they're going to be like, bottom area.
At least Freshburger, Rixalis, Josidon, Blazing Hot. All these players are around the same kind of mesh in my eyes right now. They're kind of floating around the same area in the ranks. I think like any of them could push out the other ones in my top 5 next week.
Looking at my list, maybe I actually should have put Charlie where Werpack is, because I feel like Charlie is more consistent than Werpack in terms of getting leads on his own.
But no take backsies, so.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do that. I won't. But I was just thinking about if I were to change something, because I was like, well, I was thinking about changing Sindillion for Charlie in my head, but I was like, no, I think Sindillion should stay 5, so I think I should move my 4, and that would probably be where I put Charlie. But then you see a lot of Jabizas in that number 4 spot, which kind of makes sense for where they may end up. Could be 3 as well. They could be.
There's a lot of mid lane and top lane have a lot of players that could be in top 5.
Yeah.
Actually, I would say everyone except maybe like 1 or I'd say like 1. Nah, Mad Life mid laner could also have like some
Mad Life is
god
decent.
Play.
Yeah, he's decent.
I'd say all mid laners have a chance of being in top 5.
I don't know about Adam. Maybe he'll improve, but
Which about Blank?
I don't think Adam Goodman's a good mid laner. He played well in the early game of the Hash versus Ornhub game. It's just they had a really, really unlucky later on and just misplayed the map horribly. It doesn't mean he's a bad player just looking at him solely.
Yeah. Anyways, I think we're pretty much good for the night. Again, it's posted in general if anyone wants to see. We'll be back next week. And yes, Adam role swap from jungler, the person you asked. I'm Fug. Thank you for joining us, Pickaxe.
Yeah, it was fun.
Astrus, and we'll see you next week, boys.